Cool. So it's live. So hi, we are Group Fate. My name is Justin,
And I'm Paige.
and for our group theory, we had the Four Horsemen of Apocalypse. And to kind of brief over the Four Horsemen of Apocalypse, first it is a theory from Gottman saying, talking about like the four disastrous ways for interacting that sabotages relationships. More, where he focuses on heterosexual couples and then attempts to communicate with the partners. So as each horseman comes from the four horsemen, because it's like it goes back to kind of like the biblical theories. So as each horseman comes into the relationship that they have, that more destruction comes with it. So then with this is there being Gottman was able to predict emotions and also predict reactions to improve like marital chances and to kind of to pinpoint what destabilizes and what helps find happiness with the relationships.
So I'll go into more detail about the four different horsemen. So the first horseman is criticism, and that is when one criticizes their partner, which can affect them as a person. And then it's a way of also fueling an attack. Sorry, I can't talk today. And it's not constructive at all, so it causes conflict. And then the next one is contempt, which is an expression of superiority and is the greatest predictor of relationship failure. Another example of this is mocking or acting superior. And Gottman said that this is like the sulfuric acid of love. And then contempt also can erode the immune system, which is also super interesting. So the third one is defensiveness. Oh my gosh, I can't talk today. Sorry. But this is often a response of criticism. It is when one is using self protection by playing the victim, and this never solves the problem. And then the last is stonewalling, and this is when the listener withdraws from the conversation without resolving anything. So those are the four horsemen, and then we're going to go into the examples. Our examples of one of the four horsemen. So my example is when like two friends live together and they end up getting in a fight over something like dishes. And when the friend number one confronts friend number two about not doing the dishes, instead of talking about the situation, she ignores the confrontation because she likes to avoid conflict. So friend two decides that she's just going to leave the conversation and goes into her room without even talking about it. And then this can lead to a oh my gosh, disastrous relationship, which can cause the relationship to end. So that is my example.
Cool. And then the example I'm gonna use is I'm talking about like the Avengers. So like with and it's popular Marvel movie with comics. If they don't know, nobody knows what it is. But basically in Avengers, so there's Captain America and Iron Man who like in who started to have a fallout. Right? They were like they were really good friends and then started to have a fallout. So the first Horseman criticism kind of comes when basically after there's a lot of destruction and innocent civilians are harmed. There's criticism comes when basically there's a new law that superheroes basically have to be registered with the government, and so Iron Man is the one who wants to follow the law, but then Captain America wants like the freedom of like his the superheroes because they don't want to be like regulated by that. So then eventually it turns into criticism where Iron Man kind of keep thinks Iron Man thinks that he's right and Captain America thinks that they're both right. So then they start to like Iron Man starts to criticize Captain America, saying that Captain America only thinks about himself, and then contempt comes when when contempt comes when they start mocking each other. So then eventually Iron Man starts to act and also in the video Gottman talks about superiority as well too. So then Iron Man, they both kind of show some sort of superiority within each other because Iron Man shows superiority with like the law, saying that we have to follow this, and if you do not follow this, you are like a vigilante, so or a criminal. And then Captain America kind of goes with the contempt on his side, saying that like he's acting above the law because the people like it's all about freedom and Captain America is all about that stuff. And then where where defensiveness comes in is when they don't really so they're really strong in their opinion, and then eventually they're gonna start finding out about that. But then like they don't see where like they see where they're wrong, but they're really stern on the point, so they're really defensive, and it ends up to the point where like they actually fight each other, which like it's a movie and it's like a extreme example of it. But then they start, they're very, very, very defensive about their own standpoints, and then stonewalling happens, and and Captain America Civil War, where at the end, Captain America and his best friend Bucky is fighting Iron Man, and at the end, um, Captain America won, and he starts to walk away, and then Iron Man has his own monologue about like why he doesn't deserve the shield and why doesn't he deserve anything and stuff like that. But then you can see in Captain America's face where it's basically the example of Stonewall, where he doesn't respond back, he doesn't look away, he's just basically a blank wall, and then eventually he drops the shield and then he goes away. So that is the example that I would use for that, for the four horsemen of apocalypse. And now we're going to transition to kind of talking about kind of the strengths and weaknesses that we see with this theory.
So for the strengths of this theory, there is a lot of strengths. Gottman has done a lot of research on this type of information, and he's found that these four horsemen have a 90% like effective predictive rate that if these occur often in a relationship, that the relationship will end. And that is why it's called the apocalypse. Again, sorry. And so these are complete endings to a relationship, and it's good to know these concepts in the four horsemen to help figure out if these occur in a relationship, because many of these do occur and people don't realize it. So having the knowledge of these four horsemen can help you figure out how to work around it and make sure your relationship doesn't end. So that is a major positive of this. And do you want to go on to the negative?
So I think one of the biggest negative of this theory that Gottman has is that with this study, he only studied like heterosexual couples. So then that like he disregards like homosexual couples and stuff like that. So now that when we're looking at this, we can only basically you're looking at like we're looking at a marriage between a man and a woman. So you're not looking at marriages now with like two men or two females. So then now that if we're looking at this, then can this theory actually apply to those? Like in theory, they can apply to any. You can talk, in theory applies to anything that like two partners. So like me and my girlfriend, or like my friend and my friend, or even my parent, me and my like my mom and my dad. So you can use this theory technically with like any of these relationships, partner relationships that we can see. But like with Gottman specific, how Gottman specifically like phrases it and how he studied it. He studied it between two like a heterosexual couple. So that's just kind of one of the weaknesses that we can see with that. But then even so, with like these strengths and weaknesses, it's still very applicable to like our lives today too. So like for me, like I can after when I was reading this theory, basically I was kind of looking as I was reading. I sent this to my girlfriend too, just because she likes to read this stuff. So like, and she likes to talk about that stuff. So I sent it to her just because I thought it was cool. So we were able to like we didn't really talk as much about it. We just talked about like if we saw kind of this stuff too. But then just knowing that like kind of these things are really applicable just to us, seeing kind of where we can move forward to see if like we're gonna have a fallout or anything like that. So
yeah, I also agree with that. I read this with my boyfriend because I found it super interesting, and it's just super cool to figure out if these things apply in a relationship. And Gottman also goes into talking about ways that you can work around these type of things and how you can fix these issues. And it's kind of cool to see them be applied in your real life relationships. And it can, like you said, it can be applied to any relationship theoretically with two partners. So it can be more than just a intimate relationship. It can be anything outside of that. So it's just super interesting to find information like this that can actually apply to many people in this world. So
and I think one of the biggest takeaways, or one of the most interesting takeaways I got from this, was just that like he said at the end, it was like in the video it talks about like the number one things couple fight about is nothing. Which
yeah,
I just thought that was like that was pretty true. When I told that to my girlfriend too, she was like, "Yep." So
yeah, when they put the example of like the remote, like fighting about the remote.
mhm.
So it's good to know, and it's a good learning opportunity to look at this. So if anyone hasn't had this topic, it'd be an interesting topic to research. So and to look at, because you can gain a lot of valuable information from it.
Awesome.
All
Now
right.
with that, we went through the four horsemen of apocalypse theory with kind of our examples that we have and kind of what we saw the strengths and weaknesses with this theory, as well as how we find it really applicable to our lives today. You have anything else to add?
I think that we covered everything. And then if anyone does have questions, feel free to leave a comment, or in your response, leave something, and we'll try to answer it to the best of our ability. But I think other people have this topic as well. So hopefully all of our videos and other students will all combine together. So we'll make a very thorough explanation of what this theory is.
Awesome.
So that's all I got.
Cool. Thank y'all for watching. I'm gonna stop now.